So 2 brand new Heralds in Marvel Snap just dropped, and you're probably going to ask yourself, are Firelord and Air-Walker really worth grinding for, or are you just going to waste your tokens and your time? Some of you may know I test every new release live with the community, and today we're doing the same thing. We're diving into both of these new cards and returning to High Voltage, which has just relaunched here in Marvel Snap. We're recording this before the event to showcase decks a little bit differently. Here's how we're doing it. I've built 7 decks right now because I want 2 of them to help you to get the new cards, 2 of them to test out Air-Walker alone, 2 for Firelord alone, and then 1 that uses both of them. So that way you can kind of pick and choose how you want to go about it. So we'll fast forward afterwards towards the end of the video and look at how everything did based on the live games that we had here on stream. And by the end, you'll know if Firelord and Air-Walker are both good or garbage. And if you don't want to miss any of these releases, do me a favor, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. So let's take a look. Let's switch over and look at some of these decks. Now we're going into High Voltage, and for those who do not remember, it's a 3-turn game mode. There are new bands. It's got the arc reactor where you're constantly adding on extra energy. So it's a super fast game mode, and it's all about aggressive power, and even more so because they've added new bands, right? They added Super Skrull, Shadow King, Shang-Chi, Cosmo, Armor, Luke Cage. Tech cards, for the most part, have been banned, but not all of them have been banned. Let me show you what I got here, which is, I'm not scared of Shang-Chi, right? So we're calling this one, and now with no Shang-Chi fear. It's just straight up the deck you're going to see the most in some iteration, way, shape, or form. It's, look, I've got a lot of power. I'm going to throw a ridiculous amount of power on there as well by using Black Panther Zola shenanigans, Wong Black Panther Zola, Dr. Doom Odin shenanigans. So I'm trying to take the deck, which was a very successful shell previously, and really own that shell more aggressively without needing to put in Shang-Chi as your defensive option early on. So what I like about this style of build is if you do it right, you can also throw priority and just go second and let all of your chaos happen, so you don't have to worry about one of the 2 big tech cards that did not get banned, Juggernaut and Negasonic Teenage Warhead. These are important cards to keep an eye on. You're going to see them everywhere. So be ready for them when you're making your plans. Priority is important. Play into it differently. Now we've got, as we talked about, Wong Black Panther and Arnim Zola. You get that combo, you play that combo almost every time. Almost every time. Your backup plans are Dr. Doom Odin, but then also with the new extra 9 power Tiger, that is impactful, and do not sleep on Wong White Tiger into Odin to clear out 36 in each other lane simultaneously. Then there's Emperor Hulkling, who's just your wild card, and then sometimes you get something crazy and fun, and because you can afford to play bigger cards and you've got Wave in there to make it a 4-cost, sure, let's have some fun with it. So this is option 1 of the most common type of deck you're going to end up seeing, because we're not really too worried about Shang-Chi anymore. But speaking of the cards that they should have banned, I've pushed in here with having the Juggernaut, Negasonic Teenage Warhead, as well as Cannonball Mercury all in one deck, because I think they honestly should have banned all of them. I think that those 4 should have been banned. I would not be surprised if they're the most commonly played cards because they're the only tech options nowadays. So with that said, how can we lean into that better? Well, they're all the mid-range, right? You've got this Mercury, like in cost, right? You've got Mercury, Juggernaut, Negasonic Teenage Warhead, all for 3 cost. So they feel good to drop earlier in the first 2 turns. But on that final turn, Surprise is going to be your best friend. So a 1/7 Ebony Maw, a 1/4 Hydra Bob, always feel good and safe. But if you can go with the extra 6 drops because it's one of those turn 3s that has 14 plus power, then yeah, you want a Galactus First Steps and you want a Magneto, you want a Red Hulk, you want those good cards in there. Is Cannonball going to work? Of course it will, because it's going to take out whatever your opponent has. But then Morph, who was a big MVP last time, is an MVP again because everybody's going to be playing a lot of big cards. So Morph is a great one to just drop on the first turn because there's a good chance you're going to get a 6-cost card or a Black Panther, for example, out of your opponent's hand that they just can't play on turn 1. So Morph is your turn 1 play most of the time. Either of those two decks I think are going to be fantastic to get you the 2 brand new cards. So let's take a look at the 2 new cards that are coming out. You can see they haven't come out. I haven't unlocked them yet. Air-Walker, 3/3. When this is destroyed, replace it with a 4-cost card from your hand or deck. Keyword in this that I think people are going to forget about is the word replace, which means it is taking the place of that. So if it's in the deck, it will swap with the one in the deck. If it's in your hand, it will swap with the one in your hand. Replace is important there because where it was, it is no longer doing the full destroy the way that you want it to do it and go to the graveyard. In that position will go that card, but the graveyard mechanic is something I'm keeping an eye on because if it says replace instead of being destroyed and going to the graveyard and instead goes to one of those other 2 locations, in my opinion, this card gets a lot better. I don't know if it's going to work that way. You let me know in the predictions down below. Does it work that way or not? Either way, though, I do think that this Black Panther, Nimrod, Arnim Zola deck that we've seen come out this week with the Fallen one very much so supports what Air-Walker wants to do, which is the god line of Kid Omega into Air-Walker, which pulls either the Symbiote Spider-Man safely or the Galactus safely. Now that everyone has access to Kid Omega via snap packs, I think this is a much more approachable deck. I did do a variation of this in the original, in the Fallen one video, where it had Shuri in it. And I think I'm making the safer choice here by switching to Wong, because now with Wong being played on the board, whether it be via the Air-Walker mechanic or be via just outright from your hand, with the Black Panther Zola line, it is something that you want more secure consistently. So I am going to keep that on board here. Elixir can also bring back, as we saw, some Nimrod shenanigans on the final turn. You've got crazy amounts of energy with the Fallen one. And look, it's going to be a deck that I said I don't want to play Elixir decks, but I'm not ready to give up on it yet. Let's see if this type with Air-Walker and Wong actually can make this deck as cracked as many theorize it could be. Outside of that, where else can we use Air-Walker? And the other day I had a lot of success with a new Terrax style Darkhawk deck. I was really enjoying it with the Misery in the Hood package, so I wanted to build something a little bit more, I don't know, just a little different. So I went a different path. I wanted to have 1-cost cards come back into the hand. So Morgan Le Fay is a target for Air-Walker because it can bring back a destroyed Korg or Hood, just like how Misery allows you to get another proc of a Korg or a Hood. Plus, if Morgan Le Fay gets it back into their hand, well, that's a +3 power. And when they're 1-cost, that makes a big deal. So I'm keeping an eye on that. And then once Air-Walker gets destroyed via Carnage or Venom, now you've got more cards to also activate your Werewolf. And the movable power is something that I think is incredibly exciting too. I like the idea of being able to move that power around, not knowing where it's coming from, whether it be via a destroy mechanic or via a move mechanic. And then you've got crazy amounts of rocks going in, so that way a 5/21 is regularly attainable with Darkhawk, and you can't sleep on those kinds of statistics. So this is hybriding the idea of what Darkhawk can do now with the Terrax build, then take it a step further with Destroy. At the time of this release, though, you've got to be careful with this deck because there is a known bug about Hawkeye Kate Bishop. So if you don't want to play that card in this build because it's the week of release, substitute it out for Merlin and it works the same way. The idea is to play the 2-cost card that gets you the 1-cost cards. I liked Kate Bishop better just because I could destroy it with Misery, for example, and get 2 more 1-cost cards in my hand to do mega plays with Werewolf versus Merlin, which is just 1 after 1 after 1 after 1. So it was just a choice, but depending on how detrimental the bug is on release, that's something I'm keeping an eye on, and you should too. I'll probably test it with Kate Bishop until it bugs, and if it bugs once, then I'll switch to Merlin, but I'll let you know later on in the video. Now, we talk about Firelord, who's a 4/6 on reveal. Revive one of your discarded or destroyed 3-cost cards here. So clearly they're meant to be played together, but sometimes you don't have the luxury of having both brand new cards. So I wanted to build a couple of decks that play into both individual play lines, as well as the ones that say, look, just playing together, it just makes total sense because they're synergetic. So this is it Mill or is it Surfer? With that said, I think Firelord is one of the best cards for a Surfer Gambit deck, because how many times does it happen that you play Gambit in your Surfer deck to make the Fenris Wolf awesome shenanigans get ready, and then it discards your Surfer? It's one of the reasons I hate Gambit. This protects that 100%. And I think Gambit is a key card with Firelord, which is why I have him in both of my Firelord decks. So are you leaning towards the mill element of this, where you're playing the Baron Zemo Gladiator type stuff? Or are you playing towards the destroy element exclusively by playing your Gambit, get the Luna Snow to destroy the what do you call it? The ice cube, you know, that big rock thing, that one, the ice cube over on the other side, and then get that death cost reduced down further? Or is it just a straight up Surfer deck because you've got Gambit, Baron Zemo, Luna, Gladiator? That's just pretty stable power, which still makes Silver Surfer a 310 value. I'm not going to ignore that, and I don't think you should either. So it's hybriding two different ideas. Is it a stretch? Yes. Is it fun though? That's more important. And I think it's a lot of fun. So Firelord with Gambit is the direction I want to go, which is why I think it makes more sense to also then do him in a straight up Gambit discard deck, because now Gambit got a safety net. When you discard a key card at the wrong moment, being able to bring it back like the Bullseye and or Dokken is really big. Like really, really big to do that on turn 4. It's a safe play. So you can do all the little shenanigans early on. Turn 3, Gambit. Turn 4, Firelord if you need to, but you don't have to. So this is taking the place of what you would typically see as a Frigga or a Prodigy in this style of build, because it's giving you protection to make sure that you can get the Bullseye combo consistently or the Dokken combo consistently. Because getting Dokken to 316 is the only deal that you need to worry about. Get that, 3-8 is the only deal you need to worry about. 316 is an ideal situation, but you don't have to have it do that for this deck to be good. This deck thrives on Meek being powerful, Morbius being powerful, and getting a ridiculous amount of swarms. This helps to do that. So I went Gambit, got a safety net. Lastly is Lord Air-Mamu, where it is leaning full into all of the shenanigans that Dormammu wants to present, but allow Air-Walker and Firelord to truly potentially shine. Air-Walker wants to bring a 4-cost card. Okay, so you're going to destroy the Air-Walker, which allows Firelord to bring the on reveal, and then go ahead and bring back the Air-Walker. It's just cyclical for power on the board. Or you use it as consistent pieces to destroy with Dormammu, because they just cycle and they feed each other. So you don't have to necessarily pull the god line of get the Squirrel Girl down, because you need all of the potential pieces on the board to do this and then get that. And you're destroying Martyr, you're destroying Air-Walker, you're destroying Firelord. That's the whole goal of this. If you pull that off, Dormammu's actually really consistent, a lot more powerful, and your Null is going to be easier to play on the final turn also. So I think that Dormammu is going to be the big, most successful build for this style of deck, for Air-Walker and Firelord. But I mainly want to know if you think it's going to actually get there. So as you can see, we've now got 7 decks to test, 2 to get us the new cards and 5 with the new cards. Let's fast forward and see how they actually performed. And just like that, time has flown. It is now 4.5 hours later. Sorry, 6.5 hours. Math is hard. 4, 8, 9, 12, 6, 8.5 hours later. We unlocked everybody. Test everybody, talked about the decks that did well to get the everybody, and now we're going to showcase exactly what happened. So let's quickly recap the decks and also tell you how they did. Here we go. All right. First and foremost, unlocking Air-Walker and Firelord using the 2 decks here, the And now with no Shang-Chi fear, okay, hands down, this deck was absolutely fantastic and cracked. It flew us through. Absolutely going to be a great deck for about 24 hours. Not because they're going to nerf anything, but because they're straight up people are going to realize, oh, I just need to start playing Stardust and Professor X in every single build of mine, and it will stop the Black Panther shenanigans. It'll stop the Doctor Doom shenanigans. It'll stop the White Tiger shenanigans, which ended up being more consistent than the Doctor Doom bots. The deck is absolutely great. Use it if you can, but if you run into those cards, you're going to lose, plain and simple. But the other one, the also should have banned these, not as consistent. I felt a lot of weakened value out of having both Mercury Cannonball in the deck as well as Baron Zemo Copycat. I didn't get the value out of them that I wanted. Morph was fine, but I felt like I could keep Cannonball, but I didn't need Mercury to guarantee the hit. I was fine with just having Juggernaut to knock something out. These can probably be replaced and still be an incredibly valuable deck, but either way, they got us to having Air-Walker, and tested Air-Walker in the first shell with Nimrod. Now, it was okay. Fallen 1 smoothed the curve a couple of times, and Air-Walker gave me a nice out. But it low rolled, in my opinion, just way too often. It didn't seem like it was a deck that wanted to have Air-Walker as a backup plan where you could just go for turn 4 to pull out the last minute Galacta, Symbiote Spider-Man, get Wong on the board, etc. It never had that appeal for this deck as it's another way on turn 4 to get a turn 4 card out. I didn't feel it was necessary. It basically broke even. The Rocks deck, I knew this one was a cook. I was proud of this one. I was really proud of this deck. Not proud of its results, though. Not at all. No, this just didn't work. Is it Mill or is it Surfer? Now, remember, Firelord was the other card that came out today, and they're supposed to go together. But what about if they were handled separately? It was awkward. It just really felt awkward. The thing that really pissed me off in both decks, both this one and Gambit got a safety net. Both decks had moments where Gambit just yeeted out Firelord. His backup plan was to just, I don't know, throw out the guy that can bring one of the other good cards back. So it did not feel consistent there. The other thing I learned from this is that Misery is an awful card in the wrong moment. Like bringing back a Air-Walker with Misery in there at the same time. It's just bad things ended up. There were these awful loops that ended up happening. And I'm going to tell you right now, keep Misery off the board. If you're doing the whole Air-Walker thing of bringing up a 4-cost card, don't. Just don't. It doesn't work. Don't do it. Trust me on that one. Lastly, I just want to say the Dormammu deck did show the best promise of what Air-Walker and Firelord could basically do. This is where I think that there is going to be stuff that people hone, perfect, and figure out. Because overall, as you can see, there's a lot of red on the board, right? 8 and 7. This one just sucked. 5 and 5, 5 and 5. Volcanic Rocks 3 and 7. And then the one game accidentally where I built the deck wrong and put Air-Walker in here. We happened to win, so it's better. No, it's not. The Dormammu build, I will say this. Dormammu decks, it's going to need a little tweaking. I didn't get the value out of Martyr in the Hood the way that I thought I was going to, so I would probably change that for Deadpool. Maybe even consider Wolverine, just because it's something else to drop on turn 2 that has value in repeating its death synergy. Maybe Squirrel Girl, because that's very traditional. I did see value in Air-Walker, Firelord, bringing that card back onto the board, whether it be for the body value of having the 4/6 and the 3/3 on the board, or for having just points. You know, like, are you using it for the Dormammu, or are you using it to have extra weight, extra things to destroy to get your death out, get your null out, etc. It worked. It overall really did work. I think it just needs some perfection. There were moments where I felt like I couldn't get the points out there that I wanted to because the Hood was actually interfering with the plan. It was lowering down the Dormammu and lowering down the null, but the idea of the shell felt very good. In regards to Firelord by itself, discarding or destroying a 3-cost, reviving one of those cards, I did not feel that this was a card that really was going to, it really succeeded in any way in saying this is a good backup plan to get your 3-cost card back on the board a second time. Whether it was getting Dokken to come back on the board another time because Firelord brought back out the Dokken that Gambit accidentally discarded. I never felt that value there. The Morgan Le Fay, Misery, Air-Walker thing, this whole combo, like Misery in here, absolutely awful. Absolutely awful. Do not do Air-Walker and Misery, please. Just don't. It was just not good. But with that said, I think there are some shenanigans that can be done with Air-Walker that we did not test today. We talked about it in the chat here as well. I thought there was a really unique call out of Atuma. I want to say it was Destructive in the chat who mentioned that. Having an Atuma bring that out, like put the Atuma on top of it, which then activates the killing of the Air-Walker, which then activates bringing out the Firelord, which then also brings maybe instead something else like a Crossbones. So it's a one or the other type situation. Like I feel there could be something there. I don't know, but that seems like a very logical play line. But it is a deck that needs both cards, in my opinion. I think if you're gonna get Air-Walker, you're gonna want Firelord because Air-Walker by itself does not feel very strong. So it all comes down to, are they good or are they garbage, right? Individually, first initial impressions on playing both Firelord and Air-Walker in solo decks, it seemed like garbage. It really did. Only at the very end, when I played the combo of the two of them together in the first deck, did I finally feel like there's something that could happen here. There's a synergy. There's I don't know if it's that archetype or just those two cards in general consistently working, but the big block on this is Air-Walker being a 3-cost. And the only equivalent I'll give you is Sabertooth. You know how difficult it is to consistently have Sabertooth leave the board to then come back onto the board? That's the same problem we have with Air-Walker. That's how I consistently felt, was having to destroy a 3-cost body to make something happen consistently felt bad. I did not like that at all. Are there ways to make it work? Yes. But are you also jumping through hoops that you don't necessarily need to jump through to make a synergy or thing happen? Yes. So these are alternative cards. I do think as a combo, they are okay. I'm not going to say good, but they're okay. I would say take your time getting these two cards. Enjoy High Voltage as a game mode because it is really fun. Classic High Voltage, good time. Get some free rewards. You get purple cosmic borders, variants, extra borders. Like there's lots of cool stuff going on in High Voltage. So enjoy it this week. In regards to, do you need to get Firelord? I'd say only get Firelord if you want to play the Air-Walker decks, but they were just eh. So hopefully you enjoy this. Hopefully this helped you on your decisions to understand maybe some of the things that you can do with these cards. And if you want to showcase a synergy, you have a question, comment, concern, inquiry, song lyric, idea, it doesn't matter. Throw it down in the comments below. Let me know how you felt about this style of double card breakdown on these event days. And really the engagement tremendously helps. I got the card in one day. Least you could do is hit the subscribe button. Please. Thank you all. See you next time.